Let me start by asking you about the impact on Asia decision-making, on the Asian operations, given that the region will be folded back into the global structure.
Yeah, so as you know, we have gone through our strategic review, and it's very clear that, one of the key things we want to be focusing on as a leading global wealth manager. So within that, clearly Asia is very critical. And in Asia, we're going to continue to invest, because we want to grow and we want to base it on the existing strength that we have. And Asia clearly has been one of our actually the fastest growing region for the firm globally. Within that, Asia will continue to have a very critical and important decision making in various parts, client selection, countries, etc. So the matrix structure that you just mentioned will continue to be important and will continue to drive the growth in Asia for us.
Helman, how would this change reflect, as you say, the importance of Asia? Wouldn't you be losing a bit of competitive edge, given that these markets are so diverse and they actually need localized attention and decision making?
Not at all. I think, like I said, we already have a very strong starting point. Right now, for us, Asia makes about roughly 19% of revenue. With the new structure, it's very clear, as mentioned by our CEO in our investor day last week, that Asia will continue to have a very critical point and decision making within the strategies, especially in the client selection, the proximity to our clients, country resources allocations, and so on. So the new structure, I think, in fact, will allow us to grow even faster. As you know, one of the things we mentioned, we're gonna invest in around 500 relationship managers, for example. Majority of that will come to Asia. We'll also have increased balance sheet lending for the firm globally in the wealth management side. And again, within that, Asia will have a bigger share of allocation as well.
Helman, as business starts to get back to normal in a lot of the different parts of Asia, how do you project a deal flow and the wealth business to perform next year?
Yeah, so as you've said earlier, but we had in Asia had a few slowdown last couple of weeks. China clearly, the real estate sector was one, some of the technology as well. But we have started to see that the pipeline is building up very nicely. It may mean less listing, for example, of Chinese companies in particular in the U.S. But clearly we see the pipeline building up for the listing in Hong Kong, for example. And I do think that that going forward we'll see the activity picking up again.
What about your views on the strength of the Chinese business in general, given the various regulatory crackdowns that we continue to see, including a key one across the property sector?
Yeah, as you know, Asia, I've been a banker in the region for 30 years now, and one thing I know for sure that the region is very resilient. We go through some cycles, but the medium to longer term is always up. So I'm very confident that whether it's the property sector in China or just generally, the other sectors in China or other countries as well, we will continue to see some of the corrections and some of the pullbacks. But medium to long term, the trend is clearly up. So the activities will come back, and we will be obviously continue to participating in those sectors in the markets very actively.
Credit Suisse, as well as other banks, seem to be very much focused in the ultra and high net worth individuals. I wonder how this sector has been impacted by the ongoing pandemic across Asia.
Well, if you look at our numbers in Asia, last 9 months, we actually have a record profitability for the 9 months, and as well as historical. So this is an all-time high for the 9 months period, as well as the third quarter has been the best third quarter profitability for us, historically. So we see that the impact hasn't seen much effect to us. We have grown very nicely over the last couple of years, and we continue to believe that the opportunity for both.
Given the ongoing campaigns, whether it's in China with the drive for common prosperity or say even Japan with this new capitalism idea, you are seeing the idea of wealth distribution being more highlighted in some of these Asian countries. Is this going to impact your business in the future?
No, I actually think, in the contrary, I do believe, a lot of these measures are, good measures for long term. For our clients, clearly they see, we have very diversified business as well. So, we are very active across the whole Asia Pacific. So it's not only China. I mean, obviously China is a very important market for us, but we're active, as you know, in Southeast Asia, in Australia, in India and other markets. And across the market, we see a lot of opportunities for the growth. For both for our ultra high as well as our high net worth clients.
Given China's COVID zero strategy, which obviously is impacting Hong Kong as well, what sort of challenge does that pose for your bankers when they can't physically get in and out of the country to do deals?
Yeah, so we actually have quite a number of our bankers already based in China. As you know, we already control the securities company in China, which we did middle of this year. So we have actually a very nice, presence onshore. Some of our private bankers, actually first private bankers, will be joining us this quarter as well. So we continue to build up our presence onshore in China, which obviously help us in terms of any travel restrictions or any other restrictions. And we're going to continue to invest in the onshore market in China. But we'll obviously continue to have very strong presence in Hong Kong as well.
Helman, of course, we have been very much focused on the Chinese economy. You also mentioned the growth in the Indian economy as well. Are there any other markets that we might be perhaps overlooking, but that Credit Suisse finds great opportunities in?
Well, we have been very strong in Southeast Asia, for example. We've traditionally been known as the #1 player in the wealth space as well as investment banking in Southeast Asia. So it's a market with roughly 700 million people. It's quite heterogeneous when it comes to diversity between each countries. But that's one market. For us, Australia, for example, has been one of the fastest growing when it comes to wealth. So I think there is a lot of clearly opportunities across various markets. I think the key is to really understand the markets, like you said earlier, understand the clients, and that's why this current structure that we have for us, I believe, will continue to drive the growth opportunities for us in the region.